Chapter 1. The ruins of firelight the forest burned behind her. Ash drifted like black snow as Selene ran, bare feet pounding the frozen earth. The screams of her pack still echoed through the pines, cut short by the vicious snarls of the rogues who had come in the night. Every breath seared her lungs with smoke and grief. Every heartbeat carried the weight of a single truth. She was the last. Branches clawed at her skin, drawing thin lines of blood as she pushed deeper into the mountain wilds. The winter air stung, sharp and merciless, but it was nothing compared to the hollow ache spreading through her chest where the bond to her alpha once pulsed. The bond was gone now, ripped away like a torn vein. Her father, her mother, her brothers, all dead. A sudden crack of a branch snapped the silence behind her. Selene spun, claws sliding from her fingers, eyes blazing with the silver light of her wolf. The scent hit her first, smoke, pine, and something darker like iron wrapped in moonlight. Not Rogue. Not Silverfang. Something older. A shadow detached from the trees, tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the lethal grace of a predator who feared nothing. The man who stepped into the moonlight was not like any alpha she had ever seen. His hair was black as a raven's wing, falling loose around a face carved from shadow and storm. Eyes of molten gold burned beneath heavy brows, catching every flicker of firelight from the burning valley below. Selene's wolf stirred restlessly, torn between fight and a primal pull she did not understand. "You're far from safe," the stranger said, voice deep enough to vibrate through the frozen ground. The faint rasp in his tone sounded like gravel beneath velvet. "Another mile and the rogues would have scented you." Selene bared her teeth. "I don't need your warning, I don't need you." A faint, dangerous smile ghosted across his lips. "Perhaps not, but you need somewhere to run. And unless you plan to freeze or bleed, I'm your only path through these mountains." His scent coiled around her again, wild cedar, cold stone, and the faint spark of lightning before a storm. Her wolf pushed forward, a low whine curling in her throat despite her fury. "Who are you?" she demanded. The stranger stepped closer, the gold in his eyes flaring. When he spoke, the air itself seemed to tighten. "Callum Ashbane, Alpha of the Ash Wolves." He paused, gaze steady and unnervingly intimate. "And you are bleeding." Selene looked down, startled to see crimson blooming across the torn sleeve of her tunic. The pain had been drowned by adrenaline, but now it throbbed in time with her racing heart. Callum's eyes darkened, the faint edge of a growl curling beneath his words. "They'll track you by scent. Come with me, now." Every instinct screamed to run. Every story she'd ever heard of the Ash Wolves, the hidden pack said to be cursed, ruled by an alpha who feared no moon, warned her that stepping into his territory meant never coming back. But behind her, the forest glowed red with fire and death. Ahead, Callum stood like a shadow carved from the mountain itself, terrible and magnetic, the promise of danger and the only chance of survival. Selene's throat tightened. "Why help me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Callum tilted his head, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Because the moon sent you to me, and because—" His eyes flicked to the blood staining her arm. "If I don't, you'll be dead before dawn." The words hung between them, heavy as prophecy. Behind Selene, another distant howl split the night, high, feral, and hungry. Closer this time. Callum extended a hand, palm scarred, fingers strong and steady. "Decide," he said, voice low and commanding. "Stay and die or follow me into the ashes." The firelight flickered in her silver eyes as Selene stared at his outstretched hand. Her wolf surged forward, answering a call she didn't understand. The bond was faint but undeniable, like an echo of something that had existed long before either of them were born. Her breath hitched. Against every warning, against every fear, she stepped forward. Callum's hand closed around hers, warm and unyielding. The instant their skin met, a jolt of energy sparked through her veins, sharp enough to steal her breath. His eyes widened for the briefest heartbeat, then narrowed with something that looked almost like recognition. "Moon, help us," he murmured. Before she could ask what he meant, he pulled her into the shadows of the mountain path, the roar of burning Silverfang fatting behind them as the cursed alpha led her deeper into the unknown. Chapter 2. The cursed pack. The climb into the Ashbane Mountains was a gauntlet of frozen stone and ghostly pine. The air grew colder with each step, a sharp bite of iron and frost that stung Selene's lungs. Callum moved ahead with the easy grace of a predator who owned the night, every stride deliberate, every pause sharpened by instinct. He didn't look back to see if she followed. He didn't need to. Her wolf was already tethered to his presence, unwilling to stray. The silence between them stretched like taut wire. Only the crunch of snow beneath their boots and the distant cries of hunting rogues broke the stillness. Seleni's thoughts churned with questions she couldn't voice. Why had he helped her? Why did his scent make her wolf ache with an unfamiliar longing? And why, when their hands had touched, had her pulse flared with the strange certainty of recognition? Hours passed before the jagged peaks opened into a hidden valley shrouded in mist. Nestled at its heart, bathed in cold moonlight, lay a fortress of black stone and timber. Tall watchtowers bristled along the perimeter, their fires flickering like wary eyes. Beyond them, Selene caught glimpses of shadowy figures moving with inhuman speed, wolves and warriors whose scent carried the same storm-charged energy as Callum. She slowed, unease prickling beneath her skin. "This is your pack," she said, more accusation than question. Callum glanced back, his golden eyes catching the moonlight. "My territory," he corrected, voice low and measured. "Few are allowed to enter, none leave without my word." The implication settled like a weight in her chest. "You brought me here to cage me?" His mouth twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. "If I wanted you caged, Silverfang, you wouldn't be walking." He stopped at the edge of a narrow bridge that spanned a deep ravine, the wind howling through the black chasm below. Moonlight glinted off the scarred knuckles of his hand as he rested it on the railing. "My pack is dying," he said at last, his voice softer, edged with something like grief. 2 winters ago, the moon goddess cursed us. Every alpha of Ashbane carries the shadow of the first flame. If we bond, if we take a mate, she burns, always." Selene's breath caught. "Burns? Body and soul," he said flatly. "The mark of the Ashbane alpha destroys what it loves most." "I was a fool once. I won't be again." The raw pain behind his words tightened something deep inside her. For a heartbeat, she saw not the ruthless alpha, but a man carrying a wound no strength could hide. "But you saved me," she said, stepping closer despite herself. "Why risk it if you—" His gaze snapped to hers, sharp as a blade. "Because you carry the scent of prophecy." Selene stiffened. "What prophecy?" Callum's jaw tightened, as if weighing how much to reveal. Finally, he spoke, voice low and rough. "The Moonfire Omen, a wolf born beneath a dying moon marked by blood and ash. She carries the spark that can end the curse or ignite the final war." Selene's heart thudded painfully. Her mother's last words before the attack echoed in her mind, "Run when the moon bleeds. Your fire will decide the night." It couldn't be coincidence. "You think it's me," she said, barely a whisper. Callum's golden eyes locked on hers. "I know it is." The wind surged, carrying the scent of distant smoke and danger. Selene's wolf stirred beneath her skin, restless and wild. Before she could respond, a sudden roar shattered the night, a howl that wasn't rogue but something far worse. The sound vibrated through the stones beneath their feet, deep and resonant, as if the mountain itself was waking. Callum's eyes narrowed. "They found us." "Rogues?" Selene asked, her claws already sliding free. "Not rogues," he said, scanning the mist-choked valley. "Something older." The howl came again, closer now, and Selene's heart skipped as the mist along the bridge thickened into shapes, shadows that moved like living smoke. Callum stepped in front of her, his body tense, every line of muscle coiled to strike. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his voice a lethal growl. "Whatever happens, do not let go of me." Before Selene could protest, the shadows lunged. Chapter 3. The shadow beasts. The mist boiled across the bridge like a living tide. Shapes slithered from the darkness, wolves, yet not. Their bodies were smoke and sinew, their eyes burning red like embers buried deep in ash. They moved without sound, gliding rather than running, their paws leaving no mark on the frozen planks. Selene's breath caught. Her wolf thrashed against her skin, instinct screaming wrong, wrong, wrong. These were not rogues. They were older, darker, born of a magic the moon goddess herself might have forsaken. Callum didn't flinch. In a single motion, he stripped the heavy coat from his shoulders and let it fall, the cold air sparking against his bare skin. His eyes blazed molten gold as his body trembled, bones cracking, sinews stretching. The shift consumed him in a blur of motion until the alpha of Ashbane stood before her in his true form. He was magnificent. A beast of black and silver flame, his fur streaked with faint lines of glowing ember, as though fire lived beneath his skin. When he bared his fangs, the night itself seemed to recoil. The first shadow beast lunged. Callum moved faster than sight, a blur of muscle and moonlight. His claws sliced through smoke and shadow, tearing the creature apart in a single savage motion. It let out a piercing, otherworldly shriek before disintegrating into black mist. Selene had no time to marvel. Two more shapes hurtled toward her, their red eyes burning with hunger. Her wolf surged forward. The shift tore through her body like lightning, bones reshaping, silver fur bursting across her skin. She hit the ground in full wolf form, claws scraping the icy planks as she met the nearest creature head-on. Her jaws clamped down on its throat, if it even had one, tasting not flesh but cold, acrid smoke. The beast shrieked and dissolved beneath her bite. The second lunged from the side. Before it reached her, a streak of black flame slammed into its flank. Callum. He tore through the creature with a feral roar, his body wreathed in flickers of ghostly fire. The sight stole her breath even as adrenaline burned through her veins. The stories of the cursed Ashbane Alpha were true. His wolf burned with the power of the first flame. More shadows swarmed across the bridge. Selene spun to meet them, but Callum leapt in front of her, his massive frame a living shield. His flames flared brighter, licking the wooden planks without leaving a single scorch mark. "Stay close!" His voice thundered inside her mind, their wolves connected by an alpha link so strong it vibrated in her bones. "Don't let them separate us." She pressed against his side, their breaths sinking in a rhythm older than blood. The beasts circled, waiting for an opening. Callum lowered his head and growled, a sound so deep it rattled the very bridge. The shadows hesitated. Then, with a single snap of his jaws, he unleashed a burst of black fire. The bridge lit in a sudden cyclone of silver flame. The creatures shrieked, their forms unraveling in the blaze until nothing remained but swirling ash carried off by the wind. Silence fell. The mist retreated as though fleeing his power. The only sound was their ragged breathing and the faint crackle of dying magic. Selene shifted back to human, her body trembling from the exertion. She clutched the railing for balance, staring at Callum in stunned awe. His wolf stepped closer, eyes glowing molten gold through the fatting mist. When he shifted back, the ember light clung to his skin for a heartbeat before fatting, leaving him bare-chested and wild beneath the moon. "You!" her voice cracked. "What are you?" Callum's gaze locked on hers, his chest rising and falling with controlled fury. "The curse," he said quietly. "The first flame lives in my blood. It keeps the ash wolves alive, and it kills anyone foolish enough to love me." The words cut deeper than claws. Selene's heart pounded, a wild, impossible rhythm. Her wolf didn't care about curses or death. It only knew the bond sparking like wildfire between them. Callum stepped closer, his presence a heat that burned even in the winter cold. "Now you understand why I can't let you stay," he said, his voice a low growl that was almost a plea. "The bond takes root, it will destroy you." Selene lifted her chin, meeting his blazing eyes without flinching. "You saved me," she whispered. "You fought for me, and you think I'll run because of a story?" His jaw tightened. "This is not a story." "Neither is this," she said, her voice trembling as the truth settled in her chest. "I felt it the moment you touched me. Whatever curse you carry, my wolf has already chosen." Callum's eyes widened, just slightly, but enough for her to see the war raging inside him. Desire, fear, the agony of a man torn between instinct and doom. He stepped back as if her words were a blade. "Don't," he said, voice rough. "Don't make me want what I can't keep." Selene's breath hitched, her wolf howling in defiance. But before either of them could speak again, a distant horn echoed through the valley, deep, ancient, and filled with menace. Callum's head snapped toward the sound, his golden eyes hardening to steel. "They're coming," he said. "Not rogues, not shadows, something worse." He grabbed her hand, the spark of their bond igniting once more. "Stay with me," he ordered, his voice dark as a promise. "Whatever happens next, don't let go." Chapter 4. The horn of Ashbane, the horn's mournful cry rolled across the valley, low and resonant, as though the mountain itself groaned awake. The sound reverberated through the bridge planks beneath their feet, vibrating in Selene's bones until her teeth ached. Callum's grip tightened around her hand. "Inside, now." Before she could question, he pulled her across the remaining span of the bridge, his strides long and relentless. The fortress of black stone loomed closer, its towers flickering with sudden bursts of firelight. Figures raced along the battlements, warriors with silver eyes and ash-gray cloaks, their movements sharp and deliberate. "Callum!" a voice barked from the gate. A tall male with a jagged scar across his cheek emerged from the shadows, flanked by two guards. "The horn of the hollow has sounded. The eastern ridge is breached." Callum didn't slow. "How many?" "Too many for the night watch." The warrior's eyes flicked to Selene, narrowing with suspicion. "And you brought her?" Not now, Darius, Callum snapped, his voice layered with an authority that made Seleni's wolf stir. Secure the walls, hold the south gate, I'll deal with the hollow. Darius hesitated, gaze hardening. You can't face them alone again, not tonight. The first flame. Do as I command, Callum cut in, his growl slicing the air like a blade. Darius bowed his head and disappeared into the swirling mist without another word. Selene stumbled as Callum pulled her through the fortress gates. The interior courtyard bustled with frantic energy. Wolves shifting mid-stride, warriors sharpening blades that shimmered with faint silver runes, archers loading quivers with arrows. Tipped in obsidian, the scent of steel, smoke, and raw magic mingled in the air. What's happening? Selene demanded, breathless. What is the hollow? Callum didn't answer. He guided her into a circular hall lit by a great bonfire, its flames black at the core and silver at the edges. The heat should have seared her skin, but instead it pulsed with a strange, almost soothing energy. Only when the heavy door closed behind them did he release her hand. The hollow, he said at last, his voice grim, are creatures older than the packs, older than the moon goddess herself. They were once wolves, corrupted by the first spark of the flame. Shadow beasts are their hounds, but the hollow are their masters. Tonight they breach the ridge. Selene's stomach twisted. And they want this pack. They want the first flame. Callum's golden eyes burned in the firelight. They want me. The weight of his words settled between them. Selene's mind flashed to the shadow creatures on the bridge, their smoke-borne forms tearing at the night. If those were only hounds, what horrors awaited beyond the ridge? Her wolf growled low in her chest, protective and fierce. You can't fight them alone, she said. You need every warrior you have, let me help. No, the single word cracked like thunder. You don't understand, Callum continued, stepping closer until the firelight painted his scars in molten gold. The hollow feed on bonds. If you fight beside me, the connection between us will draw them straight to you. They will devour you first. Selene met his gaze without flinching. And if I stay hidden while you fight, what happens when they kill you? You think I'll survive that? His jaw tightened, the muscle in his cheek twitching. You would live. Not the way you mean. The truth left her in a whisper, but it struck like a blade. My wolf has already chosen, Callum. If you die out there, a part of me dies with you, so either we fight together or not at all. For a heartbeat, silence filled the hall. The fire crackled, spitting silver sparks that floated like dying stars. Then, with a low growl of surrender, Callum closed the distance between them. His hand cupped her face, rough palm warm against her chilled skin. The spark of their bond flared white-hot, stealing the air from her lungs. His scent, pine, smoke, and something darker, wrapped around her like a promise she could neither escape nor deny. You are reckless, he said softly, his forehead resting against hers. And you will be the end of me. Selene's breath trembled against his lips. Then let me end with you. For a heartbeat, time itself held still. Callum's eyes flickered between gold and ember as if warring with themselves. Then he kissed her. It was not gentle. It was fire and ice, a clash of fury and need that burned through every wall they had built. Her wolf howled with fierce triumph as their bond surged, igniting every nerve, every heartbeat. When he finally pulled back, his voice was raw. If we survive this night, he whispered, you'll be mine in every way the moon goddess allows. Before Selene could answer, the horn sounded again, closer, sharper, echoing like a war cry. The ground beneath them trembled. Callum stepped back, the alpha once more, golden eyes blazing like molten fire. Stay with me, he ordered, voice like a vow. From this moment until the moon falls. Selene's heart thundered as the great doors burst open and Darius stormed in, his scarred face pale. They've breached the outer wall, he barked. The hollow are inside. Callum seized Selene's hand, the spark of their bond searing hot as the first flame. Then we fight, he growled. Together. Chapter 5. The first flame awakens the gates of the Ashbane fortress shook beneath the pounding of unseen claws. Each strike echoed like a heartbeat of the mountain, slow, deliberate, inevitable. Smoke curled under the door, thick and black, carrying the acrid scent of the hollow. Callum pulled Selene through the great hall, his hand a burning brand against hers. Warriors sprinted past them, some in human form, others half-shifted with eyes glowing silver. The air hummed with the metallic tang of magic and the low growl of hundreds of wolves preparing for war. Darius appeared at their side, a massive broadsword strapped across his back. The eastern gate is falling, he barked. Shadow beasts breach the courtyard. We need the Alpha's command. Callum didn't slow. Form a double line, burn every arrowhead. If the hollow breach the flame circle, we retreat to the inner keep. Darius hesitated. And the first flame? Callum's eyes burned with golden fire. It stays with me. Selene felt the words like a promise and a threat. The bond between them pulsed hot and sharp, her wolf straining toward his even as fear coiled like a serpent in her chest. They reached the fortress wall. From the battlements, Selene saw the enemy. The hollow came like a storm, wolves of smoke and ember. Their bodies a grotesque fusion of shadow and flame. Their eyes burned with crimson light, their howls a chorus of hunger that pierced the very soul. The outer wall blazed with black fire where their claws struck, stones sizzling as though alive. Selene's breath hitched. They were endless. Callum stepped forward, his presence a force of gravity that silenced the chaos around him. He turned to her, voice low but unyielding. When the gate falls, stay behind me. Your wolf will fight to join the pack, but you do not leave my side. Do you understand? Selene met his blazing eyes, heart hammering. I fight with you, she said, not behind you. For a heartbeat, something flickered across his face, fear, admiration, desire, all tangled in one impossible expression. Then he nodded once, sharp and final. The horn sounded again. The gate shuddered, and then it broke. The wooden beams splintered inward as a wave of shadow beasts surged through, their forms writhing like living smoke. Arrows of silver fire rained down from the walls, each impact bursting into sparks that hissed against the creatures' bodies. Some fell, dissolving into mist, but more poured through, relentless. Callum shifted mid-leap, his massive black wolf form hitting the ground with bone-shaking force. The first flame flickered along his fur, silver and ember, an impossible living fire. Selene's wolf howled in answer, the bond between them blazing to life. She shifted, the transformation a rush of heat and light. Her paws struck the stone beside his, their breaths sinking in a rhythm older than the mountain itself. Callum sent a single command through their bond with me. They moved as one. Selene lunged at the nearest beast, her jaws snapping around its shadowy throat. It writhed and shrieked, but the first flame burned within her now, igniting her claws in silver sparks. The creature disintegrated beneath her bite, its smoke consumed by fire. Callum tore through 3 more, his black flame scorching the ground but leaving Selene untouched. Every strike of his claws sent ripples of heat across her fur, but instead of pain, she felt only strength, a strange, intoxicating power that flowed from him into her. The bond had deepened. A piercing roar split the chaos. Selene turned in time to see a figure rising from the smoke, a hollow alpha. It towered above the battlefield, a monstrous wolf of pure shadow with eyes like twin eclipses. Its presence dragged the air from her lungs, every instinct screaming ancient, eternal death. Callum leapt forward, landing between Selene and the creature. The black flames along his body flared brighter, licking the air in violent arcs. The hollow alpha tilted its massive head, smoke curling from its fangs. Its voice slithered through the night, a chorus of 1,000 whispers. Child of the first flame, it hissed. The bond you forged will be your undoing. Selene's fur bristled. Callum's growl rumbled through the earth itself. Not tonight, he snarled. The hollow alpha lunged. Callum met it head-on. The collision shook the fortress. Flame met shadow, sparks raining down like falling stars. Selene sprang to his side, her claws striking the beast's flank, each blow searing through its smoke flesh. The creature howled, its form flickering with every wound. But the hollow was ancient and its strength was endless. It struck back with a burst of shadow that sent Callum skidding across the courtyard, his flames flickering dangerously low. Callum! Selene's mind screamed through the bond. He staggered to his feet, blood glinting on his black fur, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. The bond, his voice whispered in her mind, raw and urgent. Call it. Selene didn't hesitate. She reached inward to the spark that had ignited the moment they touched. It flared to life, a wildfire racing through her veins. Silver fire erupted from her chest, a column of pure moonlight that wrapped around her wolf and surged toward Callum. Their flames intertwined, black and silver, shadow and light, until the courtyard blazed like a newborn sun. The hollow alpha shrieked, its body unraveling in the storm of light. It thrashed, claws scraping the stone, but the combined power of their bond burned through every shadow. With a final, echoing roar, the creature dissolved into a swirling storm of ash. Silence fell. The surviving shadow beasts fled into the night, their forms unraveling as the first flame consumed them. The fortress walls glowed faintly with silver heat, but not a single stone bore a scar. Selene shifted back, collapsing to her knees on the cold stone. Her body trembled, heart hammering from the power still coursing through her veins. Callum shifted beside her, equally breathless. His bare skin glowed faintly with the dying light of their combined flame. He knelt before her, his golden eyes soft in the moonlight. "You called the flame," he said, wonder-lacing his voice. "No one has ever survived that." Selene met his gaze, her own heartbeat sinking to his. "I didn't just survive," she whispered. "I found you." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Callum reached out, cupping her face with a hand that still carried the heat of the first flame. "You are mine," he said, voice low and reverent. "By bond, by fire, by moon." Selene leaned into his touch, her wolf humming with fierce, aching joy. "And you are mine," she breathed. Above them, the blood-red moon began to fade, giving way to the first pale light of dawn. The night was over, but their story, bound by fire and shadow, was only beginning.